Welcome back to the Secret Turnabout. We're on part 14. Last time, we finally made our indictment. And we finally got Aiden Gambit to... I mean, he's still coming up with excuses, but we're getting a bit closer now. And last time we ended on... Question.
Time's up, Mr. Justice. Let us hear your answer. Show this court the evidence to prove Aiden Gambit's motive for committing his various crimes.
I'm thinking AS10 files. Has to be. There's one thing it all comes back to. The AS10 incident. How did you get those files? Recognize them, do you? That makes sense. These were the files you stole from Mr. Edgeworth's office, after all. Ugh. These files pertain to the double homicide that happened 13 years ago. We have a lot of these, past incidents, don't we? Anyway, a married couple was killed on that day, with a young son witnessing the entire ordeal. The child, Jonathan Seething, was nearly assassinated while in police custody. Despite his wounds, he took his place at the witness stand to testify, but in the end, the defendant was given a not guilty verdict.
Yes, I remember the events of that trial quite well. My brother was the one who oversaw the trial and gave the verdict.
Now tell me, Your Honour, do you find it any coincidence that everyone involved in that case is involved in this murder? I mean, I do think it's a coincidence for the judge, unless, we're going with the judge was the mastermind the whole time sort of deal, but I don't think it's a coincidence. The Corey Upshur, the victim, was a defence attorney who won the not guilty verdict. Manny Steele, the prosecutor who failed, was used as a fall guy for the larceny. Even your brother, who was the judge who oversaw the case, had his office chosen as the scene of the crime. Well, I guess that part.
You're saying Aiden Gambit tried to get revenge on all legal professionals who were involved in the AS10 incident?
And I guess he was intending on that judge getting accused, but instead Hercule Erie ended up being... That's correct, Your Honour. By sheer miracle, your brother was spared from his revenge, because Hercule Erie, the judge from one room over, was accused of the murder instead.
Oh, unbelievable.
It's obvious he didn't account for the defendant coming across the body. He likely planned for the rope that hung Corey Upshur to only be cut after your brother had returned to his chambers. But because of the sharp edges of the ventilation door, the rope was cut too early, thus alerting the defendant to the presence of the body.
So it explains why the murder occurred in my brother's chambers. The killer really did plan to frame my brother for the crime.
However, this just leaves one problem.
Problem? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? We were almost done with this case and now you have to come up with all these problems?
The defense claims that the killer's motive was to take revenge for the AS10 incident. However, the name Aiden Gambit doesn't appear a single time in these case files. And as we know, nobody can ever change their names. Why take revenge for a case he's not involved in? Are you really sure that's true? I believe there is a place in these case files where Aiden Gambit is mentioned, and I can point it out to you right now.
I'm afraid I don't see it myself, Mr. Justice. You're going to have to point out to the court the page where Aiden Gambit is mentioned. You see, it's a very long file you've got there. It's like 3 whole pages long, right? A certain prosecutor told me that if it's 3 pages, it's way too long.
Understood, Your Honour. I don't know who you're talking about, but sure, reading through it may seem like Gambit doesn't come once in this document. But in truth, all I need to do is to think outside the box. It's not an instance of showing where Gambit's name is mentioned, but rather showing that even if his name isn't there, he is still mentioned in these case files. Because his real name is Jonathan Seething, the thing I said like ages ago. Okay. Probably in case summary, right? And he's not a famous politician. So, case summary? Please take a look at this page labeled Case Summary. It's on this page where Aiden Gambit is mentioned.
You're going to have to be a bit more specific there. There's a lot of names on there. It does, but his name isn't listed here.
No, you're blind, okay? It's right there. You see?
No, I don't see it.
It's right there. Oh, someone actually wrote this in invisible ink. You know, they use lemon juice, so just put it up to the. Anyway,
it's just a summary of the people involved in the case, as well as a brief snippet about Jonathan Seething's testimony. You know that kid who went missing, who, if he was an adult, he would be the exact same age as a certain Aiden Gambit?
That's correct, Jonah. And this is why the page where this is the page where Aiden Gambit is mentioned. Oh shit, we got you now, son. He's gone completely silent. I know I must be on the right track. It's true that the name Aiden Gambit doesn't show up once in this document. But the reason for that is because the man we know as Aiden Gambit is a fake.
Huh, hold on, Mr. Justice. What exactly do you mean by that?
I mean, what kind of parents would call their child Aiden Gambit?
That's a fair point, actually. It sounds completely made up, Apollo Justice. It sounds like a completely fake name.
That's exactly what it sounds like, Your Honor. No such man as Aiden Gambit has ever existed. It's a pseudonym. Sorry if your name, if you're watching this and your name's Aiden Gambit, I apologise for Edgeworth's remarks and my own remarks.
Pseudonym, as in Aiden Gambit is a fake identity?
I've seen you've been reading your dictionary thoroughly, Your Honor. That's correct, Your Honor. I believe one of the people listed here on the case summary page is his true identity.
But Mr. Justice, the only person that could possibly be is...
It's exactly who you think it is, Your Honor. Manny Steele. He was fake the whole time. That was his evil twin brother.
You don't mean... It was the dead person?
Aiden Gambit has been hiding a dark secret, one he's held for 13 years. A tragedy that befell him when he was young, and the hatred he's stewed in ever since. The hatred he's felt for those who ruined his life, for those who let his parents' murderer roam free. The real name of the man at the witness stand is Jonathan Seething. Which, you know what, that actually sounds even more ridiculous of a name than Aiden Gambit. What were your parents thinking, man?
I don't know, I heard of a guy called Joe Dark once. That sounds like a pretty stupid name too. Mr. Justice, this claim you're making, it's incredulous. That Jonathan Seething is alive and well and here in this courtroom.
Is it really so difficult to believe, Your Honor? I mean, out of all of the cases that... I mean, it's mainly when your brother dealing with them. Still, he must have told you some stories. 13 years ago now, Mr. Gambit would be 9 years old. Can you do maths? Did you take your maths lessons?
Yes, hold on. Calculator,
Your Honor, why are you on your phone?
Never mind.
That's the exact same age Jonathan Seething was during the AS-10 incident.
Ooh. I just checked and you're right. Mr. Justice, do you even know what you're saying? I wouldn't let you just slander John's name, or the name of Mr. Gambit, like that.
The idea that John Seething and Aiden Gambit are one and the same is a possibility you can't deny. I won't let you or anyone else get in the way of this pursuit for the truth.
I don't care what truth you think you're reaching. It's bogus. Bogus, I tell you. It's totally bogus, dude. It's not, like, excellent. Mr. Gambit did his best to defend me. He's not a murderer.
Well, I wouldn't call that his best.
John is dead. He's not coming back. He's gone. How dare you slander his name? Let the dead rest in peace, you monster.
Why, Mr. Steele? Why do you continue to defend him? He's trying to throw you under the bus. He's trying to make you take the fall for his crimes. Can't you see that he's just using you? Why won't you open your eyes to the truth?
Because the truth shall set you free.
That's enough, Mr. Steele, and enough Liar references. One is enough. You had every opportunity to tell us the truth, and every chance you had, you told us lies and refused to give us the answers we seek. So it stands to reason that you're lying now, and therefore, Apollo Justice must have just said the truth, right? I know how this works. We are no longer interested in anything you have to say.
Objection! You already have my confession. What more could you want? You're the chief prosecutor. Why would you take this easy win for your case?
Hey. I'm not interested in an empty victory based on lies. What I want is the truth. I don't care who I have to fight in order to get it. If even my own subordinates would choose to obfuscate the truth from me, then we are truly living in the dark age of the law. If you wish to prove me wrong, then do so right now.
I already told you the truth that John is...
Hey, idiot, this is your lawyer speaking. The one time I need you to shut up and now you decide to start flapping your gums. Now, of all times you speak up. It maybe would have been helpful a lot earlier. But no, only after you've lost a chance to make a difference do you actually talk. Why? Because you're useless, that's why.
Aiden.
Just sit in the corner and twiddle your thumbs like you always do. Let the actually competent lawyers do the talking. The facade of Aiden Gambit is starting to falter. Now we're starting to see what the true man that lies underneath.
Yeah, even I think you're pretty sus now.
The man who's been bottling up his hatred for 13 years. He's letting it loose all at once. This must be the real Jonathan seething. He's been holding on to hatred for long. It's almost like he's been seething. And he still is seething, by the way. You're kind of losing the metaphor there. Now then, Redhorn, you want to play ball? Let's play ball. You want to claim that I'm John Seething, the kid from that case Steele prosecuted long ago? So you're saying I went through the effort of swapping out the blackmail letters for both cases? Also, I could, what, implicate myself in the larceny? Doesn't quite make a lot of sense, does it? If I really were Seething, why would I accuse myself? That's a good question. I knew he'd swapped the letters. I knew the reason he'd swapped the letters had something to do with him being Seething. But to be honest, I'm kind of lost on where to go from here. Don't have an answer, huh, Redhorn? It's okay to admit defeat, you know. You messed up, and you don't know what you're doing. I'm drawing a complete blank. I don't know what to say. No, Justice! Pull yourself together. My case is resting on the edge of a knife. I can't afford to get tongue-tied now.
Mr. Justice, I'm losing my patience. Stop thinking and start saying shit. Failure to provide an adequate answer will result in a harsh punishment. Because we need to make things dramatic in the final hour. For some reason.
I better not mess this one up. Think, Apollo, think. Think, Apollo, think. The reason Seething accused himself of the larceny was to prove it wrong, to confess to the crime, to waste the court's time. His accusation was never meant to be serious at all. He just meant it as a way to waste the court's time. I thought you were accusing him of murder, not being a juvenile prankster. A little column A, a little column B. The murderer had limited time to act. The victim might wake up and alert others to his presence. If he took too long to reach his opportunity, his plan would be found out. Time was of the essence. And you say you wanted to mess around and waste valuable time? I think I can spot someone wasting the court's time. It's not Aiden Gambit. Sorry. It just kind of popped into my head. Actually, he didn't really seem like he didn't want to waste time. I recall him pressing every single statement. But Your Honour, that's not wasting time. That's just what any good lawyer should do.
It seems your explanation for Aiden Gambit's actions was inadequate. Your inability to address this flaw in your logic severely damages your case's credibility.
I really can't afford to make another mistake like that. But I'm going to anyway. Because I wanna get all the dialogue. There's one simple truth we've been overlooking. Jonathan Seething was actually trying to confess to the crime. Oh my god, what is this shit? Mr. Justice, please think through what you say before you say it. Are you seriously suggesting Aiden Gambit would set up an elaborate death trap? Set up Manny Steele for the larceny, try to frame his honest brother for murder, and then proceed to confess to a court that doesn't even know his true identity? If accusing Jonathan Seething was a confession, why is he not confessing now? Maybe he had a change of heart. Nah, I can assure you, me accusing that kid was not intended as a confession. If it was me, it meant as a confession to say I, Aiden Gambit, did it. Not that I would, mind you. I maintain my innocence. Alright, point taken.
Seems your explanation for Aiden Gambit's actions was inadequate. Blah blah blah, we're going to... It's obviously to prove it wrong, because...
I asked members of the court to consider the following. Was John Seething accusing himself really so detrimental to maintaining his alibi?
What exactly do you mean, Mr. Justice? Are you suggesting it actually helped him?
In a weird sort of way, it actually might have, Your Honour. Mr. Seething had no intention of winning the case. His argument was always going to be bogus. And if he went into the trial knowing that, he could take advantage of it. If he sprinkled truths amongst the lies, he could make them seem false as well. His accusation against himself would just be discounted as another part of his theory. Actually, by that logic, he could reveal huge chunks of his plan and get away with it. The method used to enter Mr. Edgeworth's office, his intent to frame Manny Steele. As long as his theory was disproven by the end, it would all be discredited. All that mattered was the pulley didn't work. Then he'd be home free. He hid the truth by disguising it as a faulty argument. Booyah, son! Slam dunk.
Order! Order in the court! That was quite the simply astounding slam dunk. A culprit finding an alibi through accusing themselves.
Well then, Aiden Gambit, if we should even still call you that. I believe that answers all your questions, does it not? You? How could you? Vera! Oh my god, we're getting the whole gang up on the stand, aren't we? How could you, Mr. Gambit? No, Jonathan Seething. Ever since my father was killed, I've been trying to figure out who to trust. But I thought I could trust you. I thought you were kind like Apollo. But you used me. For revenge. For murder. Objection! Oh please, save your breath. I'm really not interested in hearing a lecture from a dirty forger. You have no right to talk to her like that, John. You're a dirty murderer, not when you're the one who put her through all this. Objection! Oh, give it a rest with that crap. Do you think you're a big man, huh? That you're the hero who saves the day? Did you forget about the narrative framing device at the beginning of this case or something? It is not going to be a happy ending. I'm going to newsflash for you, Red Horn. You're just a lawyer. So are you, dude. You're not some grand savior fighting for truth and justice. But I am justice. You're just another cog in the system, just like all lawyers. I don't know who's been filling your head with these delusions of grandeur. But you aren't fated to bring about some big change. You aren't special. Take it from me. There's no fixing what's rotten to the core. So what is he talking about? What is he trying to say? Oh, you say many words, there's not an ounce of substance in them. After all, you're still yet to try and rebut the defense's claims. Ha! Do you really need me to? His arguments aren't even worth acknowledging.
So then you still deny your involvement in the crime?
What, you think I'm just going to confess on the spot because you can't get my name right? Red Horn's entire argument is based on me and John Seething being the same person. But is there any evidence to prove it? Not a chance. That should be easy to prove. Unless you worked at a chemical factory. All we need to do is take a DNA test or a fingerprint analysis. I'm afraid it's not so easy. What do you mean? It gives me no pleasure to inform you of this, Mr. Justice. But somehow our records of Jonathan Seething's biometrics have been lost. What? What? And you don't find that incredibly sus? And you think that incredibly sus fact should be mentioned from the start?
Order! Order in the court! Mr. Edgeworth, how could this have happened?
It remains a mystery to me as well, Your Honour. For some reason, all records pertaining to Jonathan Seething were purged from our system. How? How could Seething have purged his own records from the system? There's no way he did it on his own. He must have had outside help. Did he get Steele to do it? He must have gotten someone. Or is something else going on here? What a shame. Nothing you can use to connect me to him. I guess that means you lose, huh? Seething, how I'd love to wipe that smug grin off your face. But without any evidence to show Gambit and Seething are the same person. No, this isn't over yet. Edgeworth. Oh, for crying out loud. What do you want now? I just want one thing. In Gambit. Your testimony. My testimony? About what? What more do I even have to talk about at this point? I want to hear you tell this court why you cannot be Jonathan Seething. Please, enlighten the court about this matter. Edgeworth. At this point, there really is no question about it. Somehow I've managed to convince him. He's on my side. I don't know what all this will accomplish. But fine. If it'll get you off my back, whatever. Time to take you two down a peg. I'm not Jonathan Seething. I had to break it to you, but John Seething is dead. Kid's been missing for years. Me, I've always been Aiden Gambit. You can look into my earliest records and see them. If I really was John, how would I be able to fake a new identity when I was just a child? It doesn't really matter, since I didn't know Steele until the trial. I never met Corey at all. Just admit it, Redhorn. There's no evidence in the world that can prove me and John are the same. Mr. Edgeworth, do you have one of John's baby photos? We can use that AI thing to see what he'd look like as an adult, and just how long are we going to play this game, Mr. Gambit? Why are you ignoring me? Because that's fucking stupid. I saw it on TV. When are you going to stop hiding the truth from us? You know, Edgeworth, I just can't understand you. It's not that I don't know your MO or anything. I know your reputation. You can't really decide if you want to be a prosecutor or a defense attorney. My pursuit for the truth doesn't mean I'm thinking of a career change. Whatever. Point is, you're notoriously fickle. And look, I get that's your whole shtick and all. But don't you think this is the wrong time for this? I beg your pardon? I mean, you've got this whole trial set up so that you can test this, what, juris system? Kind of defeats the whole purpose to test it when one side isn't really doing their job.
He makes a valid point, Mr. Edgeworth. I can understand wanting to pursue the truth. But don't you think the jurors should be able to reach the truth themselves?
I understand the concern, Your Honour. It's not a decision I make lightly. That being said, it is my creed to pursue the truth no matter what. It's the prosecutor's creed, you could say. The prosecutor's gambit. Hey, that's my name. Oh, sorry. I mean the prosecutor's path, of course. No, they actually change. Oh, I can't please anyone, can I? The situation changes nothing. I will not stand by and let anyone lie to my face. Be I chief prosecutor or not, being this a test for a new system, I will not abandon my creed. These courts shall pursue the truth, jury or no jury.
I understand, Mr. Edgeworth. I just ask you to be careful.
Fine. Don't come crying if this bites you in the ass. Oh, it'll bite you in the ass, not me. And in more places than just your ass. What the hell's that supposed to mean? The Jewess is putting a lot on the line. If he's not careful, he may draw the ire of the jury. Well, juror number 2, definitely. Hell, I may have drawn their ire too. I can't imagine juror 4 is happy with me. But he's also right. Jury or not, the truth comes first. It doesn't matter what they think of us. I'll drag the truth from Seething yet, no matter what it takes. I'm not John Seething. I mean, just because someone's missing doesn't mean they're dead, right? But you're the one who accused John Seething during the larceny trial. You're the one who suggested he's still alive to begin with. So what? What do you mean, so what? You should know what I'm getting at. You wouldn't have made that accusation if you thought he was truly dead. Yeah, I would. I'm a scumbag lawyer. Come on, Redhorn, you really don't see the obvious explanation here? Please, enlighten me. Obviously, when I made the accusation, I did believe John was still alive. But now I've come to accept I was wrong. He's been gone 13 years, dude. No one who goes away for that long comes back. Ever. I know for a fact that isn't exactly true. There was a guy who, you know, became a weird boat shop, pasta shop guy who was involved in a certain important trial of mine. A man I knew went missing for about 15... Well, yeah, there you go. A man I knew went missing for about 15 years. He was still alive for all that time. By all accounts, he'd also been presumed legally dead long before he was found again. Is it really so hard to believe Jonathan Seething could also return to us? I mean, I feel that's a bit of a false equivalent here. You're talking about a grown man going missing. John went missing when he was a child. In practice, it should hardly make a difference. See, you say that, but when a grown man going missing can mean many different things. Maybe something happened to him, or maybe he went missing on his own terms. Kids typically don't have the means to go missing forever on their own like that. Someone did something to the kid, and to me it smells like Grim was close by. Why are you talking about TDM's dog? Anyway, touché. I hate to admit it, but he's got a point. It's doubtful he went missing on his own, especially when under constant supervision. It's almost like he had help. Or maybe this guy. Who helped him go missing, and why would they do that? He had someone, one of these two guys. Your earliest records. Hold on. Because Juror number 1 works in an orphanage worker from a city up north. I bet she's gonna be relevant to this somehow, because we're talking about children. Your earliest records? What exactly would those be? Your birth certificate, maybe? Well, actually, no. I don't have a birth certificate, per se. What do you mean by that? See, the truth is, nobody actually knows who my parents are. When I was young, I was given to an orphanage with a pretty... There you go. With a pretty bad case of amnesia. Amnesia? And this definitely isn't sus at all.
No, it's not. I know plenty of people who have amnesia. Well, actually, I don't really remember, but I might do. Order in the court! So you actually have no recollection of anything before your life in the orphanage?
Nope, nothing doing. And my DNA didn't match anything in the system either. So Seething's records were erased right after he went missing? That can't have been his doing then. Someone else must have pulled strings here. The rabbit hole just goes deeper and deeper, Alice. My name's Aiden, not Alice. How can you read my thoughts? So, with no idea who I was, we were out of options. Had to start from scratch. I got a letter of no record under the name Aiden and was adopted under the family name Gambit. The rest, as they say, is history. It's all too convenient. I don't believe for a second that he actually has amnesia. What should I do? Should I raise an objection? See, I feel like we need to talk to the orphanage worker, but I'm curious to see what happens if I say speak up. What we've learned so far is that you have no records of your past. It's still very possible for you to have been John Seething before your earliest records. Alright, Redhorn, let's do this your way. Let's assume I was John before getting amnesia. What then? Doesn't your argument kind of fall flat when I can't remember anything about who I was? I can't get revenge on people who I know nothing about, after all. You could be lying about your amnesia. You could still know who you are. That's not what my doctor thought when I saw him. See, before I was dropped off at the orphanage, I was brought in front of a doctor. He gave me the official diagnosis. I'm not good enough actor to fool a professional. Who was your doctor, if you don't mind me asking? His name was Dr. Manny Steele. Oh, damn it. Why, none other than a name you should be familiar with. Palmeractus. My late buddy old pal left me the evidence I need to ruin you. And we know Palmeractus worked for, well, I don't think it was just the Katakis. I think it was, he was basically just working for any criminals that would pay for his services. That's a name I wasn't expecting to come up at all. Palmeractus was a corrupt doctor who was known to work with shady figures. He was the victim of a murder case I took on a while back, so he's not allowed to verify anything. Meaning I can't exactly call him to the stand as a witness. Still, I can't give up hope. I need more information about Seething's childhood. Then maybe I can disprove the whole amnesia spiel. You said you grew up in an orphanage. I need more information. Please add that detail to your testimony. Whatever. It's not like you'll be able to do anything with it anyways. Yeah, I lived in an orphanage when I was a child, but does that really prove I'm John? There was a significant gap in your life before you were taken to the orphanage. It's very possible you were John Seething before that time. How many times do I have to say this, Redhorn? How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, Redhorn? I don't remember that time. There is no past beyond that. Insisting that I must somehow remember isn't going to change anything. But John Seething lost both his parents. You being an orphan just makes it more likely that you're the same person. Mr. Justice, I also find Mr. Gambit's story very hard to buy. However, him being an orphan isn't exactly concrete proof he's Jonathan Seething. I hardly need to tell you. There are plenty of orphan children out there in the world. I know that, but... Let it go, Mr. Justice, and move on. You are not him, bro. I guess I was an orphan myself, though. But I didn't have amnesia, okay? Let it go, Mr. Justice. This is not the right angle to attack from. Fine. I have another question for Mr. Gambit anyways. Yeah, what is it? How happy exactly have you been with your life from the point you entered the orphanage? What, is this some kind of trick question? I came by here to testify, not chat about my life. Can we just get back to what really matters already? You're defensive when I ask the question. He doesn't want to talk about it. I was hoping to show that anger is there, but he still holds that resentment. If only I had some way of knowing what his life in the orphanage was like. Juror number 1. Why discount the idea completely? Children can be smarter and more resourceful than we give them credit for. I don't think that really covers how ridiculous the idea is. We're talking about managing to forge an entire entity on my own, managing to fool the government. Oh, and if I was John, I would have just lost my parents too, so I'd have no resources. And you're saying I did all of this at the ripe old age of 9? Well, I'll say one thing. I'm flattered you think I've always been smart. You know what? That could convince juror number 4. My Aiden is so smart, he would definitely know how to pull this off, even when he was 9 years old. You know, now he says it out loud. Certainly the idea seems ludicrous on its face. There's simply no way it could be possible for Jonathan Seething to pull all this off on his own. But of course, that's assuming he didn't have outside help. What, you're saying someone else changed my identity for me? There's simply a possibility. I won't say for certain how you may have done it at this moment. However, I would ask not to be completely write the idea off. Palmeractus had something on Money Steel. That's interesting to consider. So maybe it was Steele who handed him over to Pal, and Pal kept the evidence for that. And in comes Edgeworth with the save. Well, you two can theorise who changed my identity till the cows come home. But theories are hardly going to get you anywhere at this stage.
Indeed, if some outside factor was responsible for changing Jonathan Seeling's identity, and who is responsible and why did they do it? This line of questioning is pointless if you cannot give me a concrete answer for this question.
Therein lies the problem. I don't have a single clue. It really is all theoreticals. There's not a single shred of evidence to back it up. The only thing I know for certain is that Aiden Gambit is John Seething. He must have had to wait somehow. But you must have known the two of them before. Why else would you have taken Steele's case if you didn't know them? I don't know, maybe because I'm a lawyer and that's my job? Yeah, Paul, that was a stupid question. A fair point. You're always so quick to assume malicious intent from everything I do, Redhorn. And maybe it's because you're kind of an asshole? Touche. I swear, it's like you're trying to reenact a scene straight out of Arachnid Man. Potter! I want pictures of Gambit with his hand in a cookie jar. Well, personally, bigger fan of Malcolm Menendez as Arachnid Man than Patrick Porter. Hang on, that's not the point here. How can we be sure you had no ill intent when you took Steele's case? Well, you're just gonna have to trust. Well, you're just gonna have to trust me, aren't you? As it stands, you don't really have any proof I knew Steele or Corey before I took the case. But surely you must have at least heard of them at some point, right? Well, Steele, not really. He was famous for one case happened when I was a kid. Corey, though. It was hard not to hear about him. That dude was a piece of work. We've been hearing so much about this dark age of the law. It's in all the papers. Corey's pretty much become the poster child for this dark age stuff. Controversy follows him. Well, that doesn't mean I wanted to kill the guy. I'm not that petty. So you see, I never held a grudge against either of them. They did nothing to me. It's not like you can somehow prove they're deeply involved in my past, after all. He's right. I don't know enough about his past to comment on it. What I'd need is someone from Seething's past to prove he has a relation to the two of them. Is it possible I could find someone like that? Are they closer than I think? I guess I better start searching. Hurry, Palmaractus. Then why would you use the remote to kill Corey Rupture? Why would you set up your client, Manny Steele, for failure? Only someone with a grudge against both men would do something like that. Oh my god, you're so that's all stuff you made up in your head, Redhorn. You can't prove Corey Rupture was hooked up to your complicated death trap during the murder. But all the evidence points to him being in the vents at the time. And doesn't mean he was hooked up to the pulley. And as for Steele, I just thought all my evidence would prove him innocent. Is it really so hard to believe I just wanted to help my client out of the kindness of my heart and my wallet? It is when you almost got him convicted. I made an amateur mistake. Got too cocky, that's all. But we'll make a mistake like that again. After all, I made Gambit. Of course, right when I thought he broke, I broke his facade, he falls right back into his Gambit persona. Only there's an old saying, why attribute to malice what you can attribute to incompetence? And it is, of course, assuming malicious intent cannot be proven. Well, you have a heck of a time trying to prove it then. It's not like you have anything tying me to Seething, after all. I hate to admit it, but he's right. I can't even prove he's Seething with the information I have. But that doesn't mean I can give up. I just need to keep at it. I can't let him sow doubt into me about who he really is. I already know the truth. My entire case relies on Aiden Gambit and John Seething being the same person. The problem is, Seething's been careful to erase all trace of his past. But there has to be something. Some sort of weakness he overlooked. There must be something even he can't have accounted for. Something he couldn't control. Maybe I don't have to do all the work. Maybe the jury can help me figure some things out. I'll find this weakness and I'll exploit it. And I'm sure when I do, I'll arrive at an amazing truth. Do you know what time it is? So it's this... Your Honor, do you know what time it is?
It's jury time, baby! For the first time in this episode.
Yep. We've been waiting for a whole 40 minutes now, and finally we got the fucking jury up here. Sure, Your Honor, what do you guys think? Tell the maiden. There's no way that kid is still alive. Weren't you on his side when he accused the kid of the larceny? That was then, this is now. Oh, the fickle mind of the raging stan who needs to touch grass.
How let's all remain calm here. If I may ask, what exactly makes you so sure that young Jonathan is dead?
Well, the kid was almost killed once, yeah? So that's the reason they come after him again. I think this time, though, there wasn't a mysterious saviour. No way out of it. Kid's probably in a shallow grave somewhere, rotting away, never having gotten to grow up. Oh dear, the poor boy. To think someone would have the nerve to murder a child like that. How could they? But we don't know that for certain. There's every chance John Sealing is still alive today. Alive, and standing at the witness stand. Still none are you, Red Horn. Let me tell you, that's just wishful thinking. Even if I were John, and I managed to survive the massive hit put on my head, do you really think I'd take a job as public as a lawyer? That's just suicide. But you managed to keep your identity hidden for 13 years. It wouldn't be a risk if no one knew who you were. Hey, lay it off. He keeps telling you they're not the same, so just shut up. Judge, tell him to shut up already.
I prefer Your Honor, and I don't much appreciate being ordered around by a lowly court bailiff. Are you a bailiff or what? What were you again? A clerk. A lowly clerk.
Hey, just because we serve you doesn't mean we have to like you.
Oh, deep cut reference, nice. That being said, without evidence that Jonathan Sealing is still alive and well, I'm afraid I can't side with the defense on this matter.
Come on, that's not fair. How am I supposed to prove that when all his records were wiped? How am I supposed to prove that when all his records were wiped? Misleading ellipsis there. Too bad, so sad, Red Horn. All the signs point to John being dead. Just accept it and move on. Your Honor, I would like to hear what the jury thinks about this statement.
Very well, Mr. Wright. You would like to hear what the jury thinks about this statement.
Sure thing, Your Honor. Apollo, I guess, would like to hear what, like, you guys, the jury, think about whatever. What do you guys think? I don't believe the defense's words for a second, Aiden. I know you are who you say you are. I've seen you in action. You've always been my Aiden. Well, I mean, what if he isn't Aiden Gambit, though? What if Mr. Justice is right? What if Mr. Gambit was replaced by an imposter? That's, not the point I was trying to make. Maybe try to listen to what he says next time, you dingus! Wait, what did he say there? Oh, yeah. I'm glad I have that backlog feature. Sometimes I read something and it just slips out of my mind the next second. Regardless, the spirit of the question still remains. What if Aiden Gambit truly isn't who he says he is? I mean, it could be a possibility, but I don't know. It seems pretty hard to buy. Mr. Gambit seems pretty confident in his identity. I just can't imagine faking that. Well, I don't know. Faking confidence is what I do for a living. It seems possible. Yeah, but you're a trained actor. Mr. Gambit isn't exactly that. We were all there during the trial. The person we saw was Aiden Gambit. There was no doubt. Yeah, I've seen Aiden up there so many times. I know what he's like. I know who he is. He's not some low-life murderer. He's a hero who protects the helpless. My point is that he takes pride in being Aiden Gambit, and that pride doesn't seem fake. If everything we know about him is fake, wouldn't lying about that have taken a toll on him? Well, who's to say it didn't? If everything about Aiden Gambit is fake, then maybe his entire attitude is fake too. Look, Redhorn, there's no real point in trying to fight it anymore. The jury's all on my side with this one because they know I can't fake this. Can't we just accept that I am who I say I am and move on? Your Honor, get the jury up here.
Don't tell me what to do!
You can tell me what to do, I guess. Because I don't really have a choice, so I'm trying to run a trial here, jeez. What do you guys think? You're orphans as a child? Consider me surprised. What's that supposed to mean? Are you suggesting he's any lesser for being an orphan? Whoa, hey, I never said that. I just never would have even considered. I mean, he seems so happy with his life and all. What, so he's not allowed to be happy because he's an orphan? Is that it? That's not what I meant at all. I'm an orphan too. Mr. Wright, help me. I know I was supposed to help you habit of sticking your foot in your mouth. No, ladies, there's no need to fight. Well, I, for one, am very proud of you, Aiden. You are? Well, of course I am. Why, I remember it just like it was yesterday. There you were on the front doorstep, knocking on the door with a card in your hand. You just about the saddest look on your face, looking all scared and alone. Look at you now, a lawyer. You've come so far. Oh, wait, Voda? Is that you? Of course it's me. So nice to see you again, Aiden. They know each other. I never saw that. I never saw that coming. I mean, I did, but not me, Apollo. Me, the player. It's confusing. By the sounds of it, they've known each other for a while too. Maybe she's my missing link to knowing more about Seeding's past. Should I press her for more information? Not important. I think I should just go for it, yeah? Voda, though. We're gonna get any more jury names? And since Juror 5 is an orphan too, we're gonna talk to her as well. Juror 1, a moment of your time, if you please. What is it, Mr. Justice? It states in your file that you work for an orphanage up north. What you talked about just now, that was the moment Mr. Gambit joined your orphanage, right? Oh yes, it was. I was Aiden's caretaker for a spell. My apologies for not mentioning it sooner. I never expected it would be such an important detail. You and me both. Mr. Wright really knew what he was doing when he was assembling this jury. Well, except for Juror 2. I mean, perhaps you can answer a few questions about the state he joined the orphanage in. It could be a vital clue in discovering more about his past. Well, he wasn't exactly in a good shape. As I said, he came to us with a business card in hand, and that was all he had except a note closed on his back. He was in a bad state, completely catatonic, never talked to anyone, wouldn't eat. I worried for him, truly. When I took him to the doctors, that's when I saw my biggest shock. There was a nasty scar running along his back. The poor thing. That's why I'm so proud of how far he's come. He's almost like a different person now. What does it say about his injuries? I mean, it only says that there's no wound on Steele's person, but it doesn't say anything about John Seething. Yes, I'm starting to get a clearer picture now. It's clear to me that Mr. Gambit went through some kind of traumatic event before happening upon Juror 1's orphanage. Not to mention, he has a massive scar along his back. This traumatic event was clearly the AS-10 incident. It has to be. And a scar acts as proof of the assassination attempt against his life. Wow, Redhorn, I'm going to admit I'm impressed. That was almost a logical assumption. You're learning. So you're still denying it then? Well, yeah. See, that scar doesn't really prove anything. I could have gotten that scar from anywhere, really. It doesn't have to mean anything. Unless, of course, you have proof John Seething had the same scar. No such proof exists. Did no one really think to take a picture of the injury that we were going to use as evidence? then you're just going to have to admit you're wrong on this. Admit defeat on this one. I'm getting real sick of that smile, but he's right. A scar's just a scar until we can prove where it came from. Still, I'd at least gain a little bit of useful knowledge. Juror 1 was Seething's caretaker. She may be able to answer other questions later on. Her name's Voda. Like a Vodafone. Your Honor, I'd like to hear what the jury thinks about this statement.
Very well, Mr. Wright. I would also like to hear what the jury thinks about this statement.
Sure thing, jury. I don't really care what you have to say about this statement, but go ahead anyway.
Well, it doesn't sound very possible to me at all, I don't think. Poor John was so young when all this happened to him. It's tragic. How in the world could he have faked his identity coming from that?
We can't rule out the possibility. He must have had a way. John Seething is alive. Excuse me, do you know how hard it is to fake your identity? I've written articles on this. Do you know how hard it is for adults to keep up the lie? How is it you lies are always saying the dumbest things imaginable? Why are you so quick to go off on me?
Whoa now, let's calm down. There's no reason to get angry.
Sorry, I'm just getting sick of him saying ridiculous stuff without backing it up.
Regardless, Juror 2 is right. It's not impossible for John to have faked his identity per se. You gotta go through the effort of getting paperwork done or forging it yourself, which isn't easy. Then you gotta try and scrub all traces of your old self any way you can, and that's also a hassle. All the while you have to pretend that you're actually dead and hope that you don't accidentally slip up. Needless to say, it's a lot to ask of a young child.
You, sound like you're speaking from experience.
No, just a gal who's done her research. I'm just saying, changing your identity is harder than just doing it. Wait. We're not gonna get Sia, are we? Juror number 5? I had that thought earlier when it got mentioned she was an orphan. But now I'm starting to think, how old? She's 21. Gambit is 22. So they're similar age. And that means she'd be 8 years old. Does it say how old? No, it doesn't say how old Sia would be.
Well, she's got a point. It certainly can't have been easy. Even if he had a way, it would bring a ton of hardship over the years. Was it really worth it? Clearly, he must have thought so. Your Honor, I'd like to hear what the jury thinks about the statement. Well, let me just check what she said again.
Very well, Mr. Wright.
Sure thing, you guys.
So did Steele come to you about the case, or did you come to him?
Oh, well, normally. My clients are the ones who seek me out about these sort of things. Guys in trouble, calls a lawyer, people are recommending. I'm sure you've heard it before. Better call Gambit. This time, though, I sought Steele out, thought his case sounded interesting. If you didn't know Steele, how did you find out about the case? News outlets mainly. They picked up the story and ran with it. Breaking news! Rogue prosecutor becomes lowly thief in prosecutor's office scandal. Sounds like a defamation lawsuit waiting to happen. Well, it's a defamation if what they say is true. Still doesn't sound like they're treading lightly, though. So you see, I didn't need to know Steele beforehand to take his case. I just need to call his number, and he was eager to have me on his side. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense enough. Hey, wait a minute. No, it doesn't. Hold on just one second. If you didn't know Steele before taking the case, then how did you manage to call him using his number? Well, obviously. I misspoke. Clearly, I meant to say I called him using the phone in the detention center. My mistake. That makes even less sense, Mr. Gambit. Shortly after being arrested, Mr. Steele posted for bail. This bail was deemed null after Cory Rumsfeld was found dead. But until that time, he was not being held in the detention center. Of course, you would know that, being his lawyer. Hey, that's right. How would that make any sense? Right, well... Right, phone books. I looked it up on a phone book. People even still use those things. Regardless, it's pretty clear to me that he's lying. He somehow knew Steele's number. This could be my chance to prove he knows Steele from his past. But do I have the info to prove it? I should think closely about how I want to approach this. One wrong move could spell trouble. It's time to choose. Do I have a way of showing how he knew Manny Steele? I might come back to this and see if I can do the jury on either two for now. It's no good. I can't say for certain how he knew that phone number. Or I need now someone who can tell me something more about Steeling's past. Your Honor, be quick. Yeah, you tell him, Aiden. Show that red horn who's boss. Oh, please, not you too.
Well, it's difficult to say for certain if Aiden Gambit is linked to Jonathan Seething.
Difficult to say? Are you kidding me? It's clear as day. That red horn is clearly just making things up for his client. Guilty. I vote guilty. I'm just following the truth that evidence is left behind for us. The only explanation is that Aiden Gambit is John Seething. Lies! It's all lies! All of it is untrue. Oh, now, Juror 4. Calm down. You don't want to throw your voice out, do you? I think I just did. I can't tell which voice I want to be yelled at more. Look, I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, Mr. Justice, but it's clear you just lack the evidence to show how Aiden Gambit plays a part in all of this. Yet nothing I have in the court record says for certain that Gambit is seething. Maybe what I need is something different than evidence. I need someone who knows who he is. If a person like that exists, then I can close the gap. In that case, relies on Aiden Gambit and Jonathan Seething being the same person. Problem is, he seems to be careful to erase all trace of his past. Must be something, some sort of weakness he overlooked. There must be something even he can't have accounted for, something he couldn't control. Maybe I don't have to do all the work. Maybe the jury can help me out for some things, blah blah blah. So it was second to last statement, right? Blah 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 blah. I will say that I do. Aiden Gambit knew Manny Steele. The fact that he knew his number is proof of this. I believe this shows that the two of them clearly have a past together. When will you learn to stop grasping at straws, Redhorn? You really think you have a better explanation for how I knew Steele's number? Go on. I'm the one who has to do the explaining, Mr. Gambit. Pardon? After all, I think a member of the jury would like to contribute to this conversation. Isn't that right, Juror 1? What? Me? You are Mr. Gambit's caretaker. You took care of him ever since he first arrived at your orphanage. You're the one best suited to answering questions about his past. Beyond that, I remember you said something rather interesting earlier. When Aiden Gambit first entered the orphanage, he had a business card in his hand. Oh, that's right. So you're saying... I believe it explains how he knew Manny Steele's phone number. Furthermore, we must ask ourselves why he even had this card to begin with. Oh, I know! It was the only thing he had on him at the time. And that must mean it was given to him by the person who left him at the orphanage. That's exactly right, Juror 5. Juror 1, do you know where that card is now? Well, I don't know what Aiden did with his card. He wanted it for himself. So I remember asking to borrow it for a bit so I could write down the information. I wrote the name and number in a notebook, along with the memo for Aiden next to it. You thought to write down all that information? Way to think ahead. Thank you. You can't be too careful with this stuff.
I tried calling them about Aiden, but they weren't willing to give me too many answers. I still use that notebook to write memos to this day. It's probably still in my purse.
Very well, Jerawan. Please read aloud the name that is written on the memo.
Wait, stop this right now. Mr. Steele, what are you doing?
You don't have to say the name that's on that card. It won't prove anything. This entire line of questioning is pointless. Just drop it already. What do you want from me, Justice? What will it take for you to accept my confession? Do you want me to confess to the murder too? Fine, I confess. I did it. I'll do anything you want. Just don't read that name.
Don't be ridiculous, Steele. Confessing to crimes you clearly didn't commit won't work. We're on the path to the truth. You can't stop us now.
Why? Why would you listen to anything I have to say?
Enough, Steele. Also, you there. Enough for today. The episode's over. We're done now. We're out of time. You're gonna have to be left on this cliffhanger. Who knows? It might not even say Money Steele. It might be Cody Rupture. But it's probably Money Steele because of this reaction. And I'm probably gonna get convicted sooner or later. But not really, because you know how the narrative framing device worked at the start of this case. I'm gonna get off scot-free, baby. Maybe. You'll have to find out. Stay tuned for next time. This is Aiden Gambit, signing off.